All right, I have more things to say than I have time, so I'll try to rush through this. Please let me know when I have 5 minutes to go. This talk has changed a number of times, but here we are. Innovation culture in the age of superintelligence. This is something I'm very passionate about and something I want to spend the next 5 to 10 years of my life working on and talking about. Who can tell me what is innovation? There's a prize. Simplest definition of innovation. Do we have a mic somewhere there? Let me even put on a small timer here.
Sorry, didn't cause it to ask.
Who can define innovation? Anyone? Takers?
Okay, so in my small opinion, innovation is change or impact towards something.
Okay, makes sense. Somebody else? Give the mic to anyone.
Innovation is basically trying to improve on something that is already in existence.
Very good. That's the definition I'm looking for. I owe you something. See me immediately after this talk. So innovation in its simplest forms, the way I understand it, the way I've been able to break it down, and a lot of things I'm talking about here, it's kind of like copied either from Gemini, ChatGPT, YouTube, somebody else's talk. So there's nothing original here. By the way, if you want to follow these slides, you can go to bit.ly/IC-AS. So whether you're watching live or you're online or you're tweeting about it, you can just go through the slides. There isn't really very much in the slides, but I'll kind of give you a lot of context and explain what I'm talking about. So you talked about an improvement, right? What is the difference between innovation and invention? Any takers? There's someone here. If they can give you a mic or you can project. Invention is something new out of the...
Invention is just something new. It's a new idea, a new concept that has just been made to push on to realization.
And then what is innovation?
Innovation basically to improve on existing.
To improve on it. Okay, that's a very good definition. I think you should be the one giving this talk. It's just that the slides somehow. So who am I and in what position am I to be here talking about innovation? So if you listen to the bio that Karen, I don't know where she got that from. I've been around for quite a while. Like, do you understand? I saw Business Center, Cyber Cafe, Hub, Makerspace. Now we have these things called innovation hubs. We're talking about innovation cities. I've kind of like been around for a while. Like, I don't want to say some things that would completely date my age, but I've been around. I've hustled. I've worked in mobile money. I worked for Paga, Dragnet, Afro or Afrocab, whatever you call it, Audax. And the last 10 years I've been at Google. The last 6 months, I have had a ringside seat to one of the most fascinating products Google has ever built. Who knows about Firebase Studio? Yeah, maybe you don't agree, but trust me, where Firebase Studio is coming from and where Firebase Studio is going to, and if you've actually used the product, that is one of the most innovative products you probably would ever use. Give it a couple more days, weeks, or months, and you know what I'm talking about. And I saw the speed, the pace at which the product was built, from like the consensus to agree on what to build, how to build it, what to add, what to include, what name to give it. It was just completely very dizzying. But I remember a lot of things, and when I think of my career, when I think of my experience and my expertise, those last 4, 5, 6 months were simply amazing. So while I'm not writing code anymore and never really did write production code, while I'm an open source enthusiast and machine learning hobbyist and all that kind of stuff, you don't get my credentials. There's no two of me. I mean, there's no two of anybody else in this hall, but when you speak about my experience in Africa, Nigeria, the people I've worked with, some of the nasty experiences I had even in the US. One of the reasons why I'm seriously considering coming back. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm jackpot dying or I went abroad and I couldn't, the heat was too much. So, and I kind of like this audience. How many audiences can you just go on stage and your intro song is also about and then people actually get it? And then they get all the references about, who's your daddy? So there's something about being here and who I am, or who am I, whichever one, that makes today really very special for me. And to have the honor to be considered by the Oscar team to grace the stage once again, thank you, everybody. Oh. How many of you can say this is your daily, weekly, annual mission? Like, you are looking for problem or problems. Anybody here? Okay, fine. Please video the audience. How many of you here are looking for a problem? Are you sure? And this is not the Nigerian one of I'm looking for trouble. Because I'm actually looking for trouble. As this talk progresses, there's some subs I will drop. You know I'm looking for trouble. But how many people are looking for problems? How many people want to be a billionaire? Now look at the problem there. Okay. How many people want to be unbelievably liquid? Karen, you don't want to be unbelievably liquid? How many people want to be unbelievably liquid? How many people want to hold like Dangote and still they find cash? But if you know anything about startups, successful businesses, successful enterprises, and you know some of the buzzwords and cliches that come out, and even some of the most successful open source and closed source products, or if you go into an incubator, an accelerator, or an innovation hub, one of the things you really hear about is, are you solving a real problem? And then you would hear people say, money flows in the direction of value. People pay to solve their problems. You will buy Panadol if you have a headache. You will get into an Uber if you need to go from point A to point B. And if you look at some of the folklore, fantasy stories about things like Uber, you will probably ask yourself, if I have a phone that has GPS, Google Maps, has apps, why do I need to go out into the rain and stand to flag a taxi? That is a problem. I want to go from point A to point B and it's raining. So one of the things I want you to do today, right now, you need to start looking for problems. Because if you're not looking for problems, if you're not solving problems, you know go whole bar. Period. And Uncle Aliko has been solving our problems from salt to sugar. Now he has entered petrol. Baba. He this bag and Indomie was there. But you need to be looking for problems. If you're not looking for problems, what are you doing? How do you want to build? How do you want to solve a real problem? How do you want to build a billion-dollar company? I'm going to talk about the problem that all of us have experienced. And all I want you guys to do, and they're not paying me, but I'm going to give them an invoice. How many of you have had this particular problem? You walk into a shop, you want to pay for something, you're allowed to pay with transfer. When you finish paying, they say you cannot leave until Madam gets the alert and tells the shopkeeper that you have paid, until they can confirm your transaction. How many of you have had that problem before? How many of you are still having that problem till today? No way. The shop doesn't have money point. So you see the simple thing of that crazy problem of paying for something and you can't leave the shop. And right now, with Money Point, invoice, Oscar will send invoice, I'll send my own personal invoice. Awal, I know you're watching, Celestina, we had a chat earlier this morning. The transaction receipt just appears on the POS. And they just let you go. And that's a monumental problem. And they solved it for thousands of people. Now, I was speaking to a friend, Robert, over the weekend, and I had a problem with my ATM card. And GT Bank has this solution where you go, you press something, you do your self-ID, and it prints out an ATM card for you instantly. But you can only do that in specific ATMs and if you have specific types of accounts. I haven't fully tested it out, that if you go and download the MoneyPoint app and you open an account, you can walk to a POS agent and they can issue you a MoneyPoint card and you can tie that card to your account. That's how you solve problems. So one of the first things I want you to think of doing is, right now, as I keep talking, really just think of the last problem you had. Whether it was getting here, jumping on the taxi, whatever, jumping on the bus, finding this, that, your internet went down, really cast your mind to problems you have had. That's where your billion-dollar startup idea is. MoneyPoint is a, what, trillion-dollar company? Billion-dollar unicorn? And the definition of innovation that I work with, that I felt was the light bulb moment in my life, was I had a talk by, I think, the former CEO of OPay, and he said, innovation is the comparative form of the adjective, what am I talking about? ER. Okay. Hallelujah. When I give you a word, give me the ER version of the word. You don't know what I'm talking about, but you'll get it. Easy, cheap, fast. That's innovation. If you can't find the ER of your startup and say it in one word, you don't have a startup. If you're building a product and you want to add a feature and you can't tell a layman what the ER of that feature or that product is, you don't have a problem you're solving. I was listening to a talk recently by Andrew Ng or Andrew Ng, and he was talking about how they invest at the AI fund. And he said they're looking for real problems. And not only did he define a real problem or deal with a problem, they now have what they call a concrete problem. And you can check out that talk. And he defined a concrete problem to them as a problem that if they give two separate engineering teams to work on, they'll work on the problem in the same direction. So two teams that don't know what they're talking about. If you can describe a problem so well that you give it to two different engineering teams, and each of them work independently, and they scratch the problem or approach the problem identically, you have a concrete, well-defined problem. And they fund startups that have concrete, well-defined problems. This picture featured in my last talk at Oscar Fest. And it represents everything. No lights, no internet. So you can see the places where there's a lot of lights. And you can see the dark continent. Apart from number of problems, this is... Anyway, if you look at this, you'll figure out why I think for me to live in the US, it's a problem. These dark continents, these dark locations represent probably where all the biggest problems are. Internet, power, poverty, famine, disease. Jackpot. I was at a conference and this quote came up. If you're not on the table, you're on the menu. Deep. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So open source, yes, it's nice and all that. This slide, those two slides have nothing to do with this presentation. They have nothing to do with innovation. Well, a little, but they're just so nice. I just had to put them. Do you know what this is? Quick guess. What? Overflow. Stack Overflow. They've argued this, they've defended it, but no one is coming for us. No one is coming to save us. See that our dark continent problem? You see that MoneyPoint? I was talking to John outside. that money point problem or that solution, it couldn't have been built in Silicon Valley, no matter how hard they tried. PhD machine learning, you can't understand the problem of paying with transfer and not being able to leave the shop until they get confirmation. Who recognizes this guy? You guys are so smart. So this talk will not be complete without what is artificial intelligence. And I'm going to run through this very fast. You have the slides, and this is just a frame. I'll finish the talk. This is just race to the bottom. The world has changed, whether you like it or not. The amount of funding that is going into AI, the people behind it, the governments behind it, think about it. We're now talking about corporations, private entities running data centers on nuclear. We didn't even allow countries. We created an entire agency to make sure that, let me not get too political. But whether you like it or not, there will be AI. And then we went through a lot of phases. People felt it was buzzwords. There was big data, there was cloud, there was Okay, I talked to one blockchain guy. It's not blockchain anymore. It's Web3, Abi. That's the new sexy word. These buzzwords define a couple of things, and each of them have been building blocks to what we're experiencing now with AI, and then this super intelligence that I said, innovation culture in the age of super intelligence. And I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon, like 5 minutes. We had a situation where there was a time we were talking about data. Oh, we have so much data in the world. Data has been created everywhere. What is data? Raw data, organized, blah, 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 blah. And then people said, if you process the data, you get information. So we're kind of like got into the information age. And then we got into this intelligence age. And I'll give you a classical example. Maybe you have a car. You're moving at 80 kilometers per hour. That's data, right? The information could be all the things on your dashboard and when your fuel is going to finish and all that kind of stuff. You've processed that data and you can say a lot of things about your car. Intelligence is a self-driving car, right? Then the car does what it wants to do, and all those other buzzwords you come across, and you can find those definitions on Gemini, ChatGPT, Google, and all that kind of stuff. But there is a progression. And then we came to this thing called superintelligence. Somebody threw this buzzword about a week ago, one guy like that. You know the guy? But you can be a billionaire and you can still get it all wrong, right? They told us that we would, rather than eating ishewu and hanging out with our guys and coming to conferences like this, we're going to wear a headset on our head. And then the world got locked down in 2020, and we wore the headsets on our head, and immediately they opened the world. We were like, oh, mom, we go fudge. So you can get it wrong. And one of the things I want to tell you, personal opinion, everybody's guessing on this and betting on it. And even if you had, I don't know, $20, $25 billion in the bank, it's very difficult to see the future. Because you could think that the metaverse or those headsets were the way forward. So even with AI right now, I mean, Google built transformers, but they didn't create ChatGPT. Whatever reason they decided to do or not to do it, right? But we are now in the age of the non-experts. I was learning some money-making online thing. Some guy, Iman Gatsi, some of you like him, some of you don't like him, some of you don't know him. And he gave us this code, the age of the non-expert. What is the age of the non-expert? To me, when I wanted to figure out how to do anything, before I would do Google, YouTube, Wikipedia, and in roughly 20 to 30 minutes, I would have 50 to 60% knowledge about anything, enough to sound reasonable. Like preparing for this talk, just a bit of Google, YouTube, and Wikipedia, I'm here. And I can talk about protein folding, right? Today, with ChatGPT, with Gemini, with Claude, you can pretend to be an expert. You literally can tell the LLM, you are an expert in this, do this, or give me this, or give me that, and then you get something very decent back. And remember, in 2022, we're all talking about hallucination and false information. And people are like, calm down. This thing is super incredible. The technologies you're playing with LLMs and superintelligence and all those other kind of things, they are the worst they will ever be. We're in an iPhone 1 moment. It's only going to get better because of the amount of investment and the people behind those investments. So whether you like it or not, if this feels like It's not there yet. And if you go back to that Stack Overflow graph, that 2022, that first ChatGPT to what you have now with things like reasoning and thinking and fact checking and all the skills and all the techniques that are being used for this our super intelligent age, you can be a non-expert and you can sound pretty intelligent if you know how to prompt. And even if you don't know how to prompt and you know a little bit about recursion, you can write a shitty prompt, put it into your LLM and say, give me a perfect prompt with this shitty prompt. And then when it gives you a perfect prompt, you put the perfect prompt back inside and you, hallelujah. And then the buzzword of today and tomorrow. Who's here? Who's here now? What's the buzzword now? AI agents. The agents are here. And these agents are super powerful. You can chain your agents. You can hand them off. Compliance agents, regulatory agents, coding agents. Pretty incredible stuff. And nothing is going to stop them. Yes, Terminator is Skynet, whatever you call it. It's here. But it's not something to be afraid of. It's really something to be very, very aware of. And don't get left behind. Just don't do it. So the ER, I will tell you about the innovation culture. And for some reason, I had to shut down one of my side hustles and even like lay off a couple of my team on my side hustle. The biggest ER for me is faster. So if you're writing code, you're debugging code, you're documenting code, you're reviewing open source code, you're writing pull requests, whatever it is you're doing, you've got to be faster. That thing that took 30 hours now takes 30 seconds if you prompt it. Now, it's not going to be so good, but you just have to be faster. So one day, or day one, the decision is yours. Will you learn to identify, approach, deal with problems in an ER-ish kind of way? Will you do that today or will you do that one day? If you want to work on some of my side hustles where we kind of like fire people faster now, you can fill this form. We are hiring fast R people. Thank you. Who's their daddy?